Hey everyone, Cherise here. Welcome back to a new video. We are in the continuation of our mini video series. It is already day 5 of Cherise Treats, so if it's your first video here, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. The year is beginning to wrap up, so I'm doing my 2022 bullet journal flip through today. It is always a fun time to look back at all the spreads I made this year and see the progress. So if you're ready, I am ready. Let's do it. So here are my bullet journals for 2022, and while we go through the pages, I will also be talking a bit about them and where I got the inspiration from. So let's start off with this Tiki Cup of Galaxy notebook from Notebook Therapy that I used in the first half of the year. Okay, so here is my 2022 cover spread. Many of you really liked this Roman numerals idea and even showed me your amazing recreations over Instagram. I was brainstorming about it for days and there was this aha moment and the idea just came to mind, and to make it interesting, I also drew some floral doodles. I kept the whole initial yearly setup very simple by just using a black fine liner and a minimal use of color. A lot of you might have seen how I made my spreads, but in case you haven't yet, I'll be sure to list all the links of my Plan With Me videos this year on the video description. I think it will be interesting for you to see them filled in, though I'll have to blur some information, so I hope you don't mind. Anyway, there were some spreads from here that I didn't include in my 2023 bullet journal setup. The video is already up on my channel too, by the way. As I was saying, example of a spread I didn't include in my new setup are the bucket list, because I might just list them on my goals section next year, and then the entertainment or my media consumption, since I also made a setup on a separate journal for that, mainly for the movies and TV shows. And as you can see, I had more time watching than reading a book. The songs are blank too, but I created monthly playlists anyway. I really like the simple black and white and a bit of accent colors that I did in this beginning of the year setup. But we will now flip through my monthly setups, and here is my January spreads in vintage camera theme. I love this cover with a gouache painting and ripped coffee stained papers that I made. I am still a beginner with gouache here, but I liked how the illustrations turned out. The calendar isn't my favorite, but I still like the spread with a Dutch door page as a whole. Oh, this camera illustration here was inspired by Rosa of Rosie's Sketchbook on Instagram. She's an amazing artist. I also like my weekly layout here. It has a good balance of big illustrations and minimal daily boxes. My favorite would be the third weekly layout. February was a lovely month. I did magnolias and sparrows, so much spring vibes already in this theme. This is where I actually used watercolor paper since I did a wet on wet technique for the subtle pink background. I love the layout here for the calendar main focus, especially for the goals section where I also allotted some spaces for actions. I also love the background. I included a currently list here. I got the idea from Ashley of Real Paper Pages on Instagram. I played around with washi tapes here too. It's just a fun way to decorate the pages. Just like this playlist here, I love how it goes well with the theme. When I'm busy or feel like not doing individual weekly spreads, I combine them just like here, either in a form of Dutch doors or a full spread. The vertical boxes looked spacious in the beginning compared to the vertical dailies. I got some questions when I posted my before pen photos on Instagram if they are spacious enough. So my answer is yes. I write my tasks into 2 columns like this. And I also made a cutout illustration here, and it's my favorite too. It's so cute. Ooh, March, my art studio theme using watercolors. I love this cover so much. It is one of my favorites for sure. I think I have so many favorite themes this year, but my November theme is the valedictorian, which you will see later. I made this easel layout with Dutch door pages for my calendar with events, notes, and main focus and goals on the other side, which is also a cool idea. I like this one the most in this whole setup. I also made a currently list in a paint palette layout. It is my first time doing interactive habit trackers too. I made these paint swatches on pieces of watercolor paper, and I also made a little pocket to hold them. It was really fun tracking my habit trackers in March, and this also started several more interactive habit trackers in my future monthly setups. Another painting I love in this setup is this one on my weekly spreads. This setup is also so special to me because I gave a lot of effort to it. The process calmed me while I was in the midst of a storm in my life this year. When I'm busy, I don't pressure myself to write something, so you can see here there were empty daily boxes. But I absolutely love this theme. I might do something similar again in the future. Woo! Hello again, April. I would love to live inside this theme. It would be a dream. It all has the cottagecore, slow living vibes. The cover is probably the most intricate and ambitious, yes, cover page I've ever made in this notebook. I painted this girl on a tree, then cut out almost half of the page and painted another illustration of a cottage by the lake, but I was so happy that I was able to execute it. I painted another big illustration here for my focus and goals. I love this one too, but layout wise, it can be a bit too much. But as you noticed already, my monthly spreads are artsy. It's so much different though with my first bullet journal, but I guess that's my why to bullet journaling. It is my outlet to improve my art while organizing my life. This is just my personal preference and an act of self-care, so please don't get overwhelmed, but I hope you take inspiration from it. If you're curious how my past Bujo looked like, I will link my flip-throughs in the video description too. Okay, we are on my April weeklies. I tried to incorporate diary sections in here to write about how my week went. But later on, I got a separate notebook for it because that one is much more personal. I did a huge painting on my first weekly. It was time consuming, not gonna lie. My daily boxes has these little floral border designs too. My favorite has to be the last weeklies. I love the small paintings here and being able to combine 2 weeks. Alright, it's time to look back at May. Oh, May. It's refreshing to see you again. I used 2 mediums here, watercolor for the foreground elements and gouache for the background. This actually has Bridgerton inspired vibes, and I love the textured handmade paper that I turned into an envelope for the quote. This is also where I carried the interactive habit trackers again. It was perfect for the tea sachets inside the tin can pocket here. It was pretty easy to create. The only thing that took me the time to finish the whole page is the background. Okay, I'm getting hungry now because of this. And then we have this cupboard layout here. My weeklies are quite empty in this month because this is when I went on a vacation. I still made them though, just in case I'd have the time to journal. My June theme is also inspired by my short vacation. It is a road trip theme with a bit of tropical vibes. I really enjoyed painting this one. I got this focus and goals layout idea from Anna of Journal Away. She is also one of the bullet journal content creators that I look up to. I had Dutch Door weeklies again here. I actually continued doing Dutch Door weekly spreads starting February, since January is a slowing down month after successfully accomplishing Cherie Streets last year, so I had more time to create individual weekly spreads. I ended this with a huge illustration. I think this is the biggest weekly spread painting I've ever done in my bullet journal so far. But that is it for the first half of the year in this notebook. Okay, moving on to the second notebook, I used one of my collaboration notebooks from Maisie Lane Co. I made a separate bullet journal setup video for this too. I love this window cutout idea and simple botanical watercolor paintings with gold accents, which is also the whole theme of this migration setup. This is actually achievable with brush pens as well. I also use craft papers and simple washi tape design in all the spreads here. This goals layout was inspired by Amanda Richley from one of her mid-year setups too. My money tracker or budget type of spreads has similar layouts recently since it works for me. Oh, I also got this craft frame idea from Tina of Tina's Diary, who is also a very talented artist in the community. This is also my first ever period tracker in my bullet journal since it's already back after my pregnancy. Alright, so we have arrived at July. I don't know if it's just me, but I struggle coming up with a theme for July or for summer because I also tend to follow the seasons when creating my themes. But I tried my best and I came up with a beach theme, and I also used some colored papers here. I would say it is my least favorite this year. Not that I dislike it, but I also just didn't have the same motivation as I did in the other months. As you can see, I wasn't able to write anything here. It was a lazy month, maybe because I was still in the vacation mode. If there's a spread I like here, it would be the weeklies because I enjoyed painting this wave illustration with a sand background for the dailies. But then it's a new month. I regained motivation and inspiration for August. I did a light academia theme with scrapbooking style. My cover was inspired by a library illustration from one of my favorite illustrators, Maxine V. I also used a fountain pen and ink for the titles that added more vintage feel to it. But for my day-to-day tasks and other writings, I used the Zebra Sarasa gel pen in vintage yellow color. My habit trackers are once again interactive here. I made these postcards kind of trackers and used the Light Academia postage washi tape stickers from Notebook Therapy. I also decorated the envelope with an actual dried flower, so it was really fun making these, and all the more as I was using them. I love this Songs of the Month page. It's also a fun way to use washi tapes. And here are my weeklies. I painted a bookcase and used different papers for every week to make it a little interesting. August was a chill month when it comes to my everyday tasks, so I didn't have a lot of things going on. Another favorite is September. It is my woodland and forest animals theme. As always, it is painting heavy, but I really enjoyed painting these animals. It reminded me of my childhood. I loved watching Disney animated films, and it's something I would love to paint for a children's book. Plus, it's also my birth month, so I made an effort. My spreads here doesn't look like they're filled in because I also used the same colored pen I used from August for writing. After doing a lot of paintings this month, I simplified my spreads for October. Also, when I decide what to do for the next month, I try to forecast what I need and if I have time to create my spreads that are as heavily painted as the previous months or go for something minimal. So I really try to balance everything by using my time wisely and not overthink about my setups. Looking at my cover spread, you may think that I spent so much time with it, but it's actually the opposite. It was quick for me since the illustrations consist of silhouettes only, which are easy to draw. After a long time, I decided to add a mood tracker again, along with my habit tracker, and this also became a favorite layout. I also started adding this activity list, the fun things to do in October. Having this specific page for it is a good way to do something else to enjoy the month aside from fulfilling everyday responsibilities. I made use of stickers, washi tapes, and alphabet stamps here, which made the setup a lot easier to finish too. I also got playful with the muted toned highlighters on the rest of my weekly spreads. I'll have to do this again in the future. I really like it. Alright, we have reached November, and like I said earlier, this is my favorite of all. This is supposed to be a candle in a jar, but I made a little twist by painting a cabin in the woods instead, with the smoke from chimney emulating the candle smoke. Then someone holding it on the background, which gave it a total cozy vibe. If you know me, I like cozy things, and even though we don't have autumn in our country, at least I can experience it too in my bullet journal. I enjoyed using my wellness trackers too. The mood tracker was inspired by T and Bujo. I love her use of doodles as indication of the moods, so my take here was to draw boxes to create a check pattern and drew my moods on each boxes accordingly. And my weekly spreads, I think this would be my all-time favorite weekly spread layout. I made vertical Dutch doors. The spaces are also sufficient for me, but flipping through the middle completes this whole cozy candle by the window painting. I painted it first before cutting them and glued the sides of the painting after cutting the Dutch door pages. I also made use of color papers here, and it was inspired by Mihaela of Bloom and Dot. She's a very talented artist too in the community, and I love her use of colored papers. I didn't want to waste some extra papers, so this was a great idea. And finally is December, which we are still currently in. I went festive again this year. I love Christmas, but I always like to go for vintage or rustic vibes. The whole theme is this gifts or presents and all the stylish ways to wrap them. I also made these colorful tabs and interactive habit trackers that resembles an advent calendar, which was super fun to create and use. I have activity list or festivities too, but I didn't fill the movies section yet. I think I will do it towards the middle of the month. I already have some shows in mind, like the series called The Chosen and many more. They will probably be more of good old holiday movies. I also made a page for Cherries Treats, and then here are my weeklies. I love this layout too, combining 2 weeks with this little flap as a division. We still have a few more weeks to go, and I already got to set up the next ones, and it was a pretty quick layout. So I have only 1 week left to set up, but we will see if I still need that in the end. I still have a few pages left, but I usually use them to do some pen tests or sketch something. What you're seeing here was actually my color palette for my 2023 bullet journal setup. Okay, so that is a year in my bullet journals. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I am still experimenting a lot throughout my second year of bullet journaling. I switch a lot of layouts and mediums, but I am already looking forward to what I can do next year. If you watch my monthly plan with me videos, thank you for following me all year in this journey. I hope they inspired you. And I guess that's finally it for my whole 2022 bullet journal flip through. I hope you enjoyed chatting and looking through them with me today. I wish you all a great one, and I will see you on my next video. Bye everyone!